What's going on, everyone? I appreciate everyone who is tuning in, who's going to tune in on the replay, all of the subscribers, all of y'all. I'm truly grateful for you all allowing me to take a moment of time out of your day to listen to what I have to say, my opinions and thoughts. And as always, hey, if y'all reach out, email, IG, probably not TikTok, I'm definitely going to try to one, reach back to you, and two, take a look at some of the things you all point me in the direction of, because you all, hey, as co-counsel, you all always come through with stories, updates, or your interesting perspective because you have some experience or some nuanced information in the area that we were talking about. So definitely shout out to you. For everybody who's new to the channel, my name is Marcus. I'm the Debt Free Dad, where we talk attorney reactions to trending news, current topics, whatever's going on in the world. It could be a little bit about a scheme, a scam, something uh, in the urban community that's just kind of ablaze, finance related topics. We kind of dip our feet in a little bit of everything. If you get some value out of this content, make sure you subscribe, share, like, comment, interact. Definitely appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out to everybody who's already in the chat. Hey, shout out to the sponsor for the show, No Weapon Formed against me. Yo, sorry, I'm about to jack up your name. No Weapon Formed against me. Shout out to you for one dropping the first comment of the day. So let me go ahead and give you a round of applause for dropping that first comment of the day. But also, I want to give you another round of applause for being a huge supporter of the channel, for being a member, for coming through, blessing me. I never ask for anyone to give me anything, but if you do give me something, I'm very appreciative. I'm very humble, and I'm just grateful. So again, a round of applause to you. Shout out to you for being a member of the channel and for, like I said, just supporting is definitely appreciated. And like I said, I hope everybody who's tuning in can get some value out of this content. Always toss out a disclaimer: licensed attorney, not your attorney. Find a professional in your area for legal or financial advice. I'm just a dude on the internet for infotainment purposes. My opinions and takes are not intended to be legal and or financial advice. I always got to throw that out for the folks at the Bar Association. So let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, shout out, and I never mentioned the names of the persons who reach out to me, but I never heard of this channel. It's a gentleman by the name of Jedediah Brown. We'll go to his channel and I'll shout out his channel as well. But one of the viewers, one of the family members, one of the tribe, one of the intellectual savages reached out to me and was like, yo, here's an interview of Tiffany Henyard's landlord. And I thought, you know what? This would be an interesting take to just kind of give my opinion on for a few reasons. I want to just lay the foundation and framework on why this would be an interesting interview to review. One, I actually did a live stream where we talked about the interview she gave to the news, and there were two particular questions that I had. One question revolved around the facts around how Tiffany Henyard actually became her tenant, because it looked like it was another tenant in play. The second thing was the news outlet that did her interview and portrayed her story essentially said that she felt pressure to enter that lease. And I was like, hey, at the time, I can only go off the facts and information that I have. I call cap on her feeling pressure because it was a media outlet whose sole job is to ask questions. They know how to ask direct questions, probing questions. They know how to do follow up. If my thought was, if there was pressure and I were doing an interview, I would say, what pressure did you feel? Can you explain? Can you expound upon that? And we didn't get any information. So I wanted to watch this to one, see if those two questions are answered. So I'm going to give my perspective from a few standpoints. One, as someone who's a landlord who starts out like most landlords, you have a property, you move, you keep that property, you rent it out. Then next thing you know, you got a couple of rental properties. So I've done the landlord thing for well over a decade. So I kind of have some experience on how it goes and the best methods to do it to make sure you don't put yourself in a jam. Because if you all don't remember the landlord stated that she was fearful of potentially losing the home because it looks like and sounds as if she still has a mortgage obligation that she has to satisfy. She actually mentioned that she was unemployed. So there's a financial nuance around that. But I'm gonna give my take as an attorney, as someone who's been a landlord for in excess of a decade, and just as a non-professional, as a guy just looking at it objectively, saying like, "Yo, these should have been red flags. This should have been done." Again, shout out to her for going on Jedediah Brown's channel, and shout out to him. I'm going to shout out his channel, but I want you all to know a little bit about who he is, because Jedediah Brown isn't an individual like myself. Like, hey, shout out to the residents of Dalton and the Thornton Township, but I'm looking from afar. I'm over here like, man, what's going over there? That's kind of wild. Hold on, I gotta. I'm looking from afar, like, yo, it's kind of wild over there. What do they have going on over there? But this is where he's from. He's entrenched in the community. He's an advocate. He's a public servant. And so I'm gonna play a video that occurred, I believe it was this summer in June or July. We'll see when we look at the video. But this will give you a little bit of information about one, who Jedediah Brown is, his involvement in the community, and he really does have his thumb on the pulse. And just as quiet as it kept, I'm actually going to reach out to the brother via his email to see if we could maybe do some type of collab, because I would love to have a chance to talk to people in the village of Dalton who live in the Thornton Township and just try to find out their pulse. How do they feel? What were their expectations at the time Tiffany Henyard was placed in these positions of power to where it is now? And it's just so many questions that I have that'll be dope. So I'm definitely going to reach out and hope, we could set something up. Donna B, I appreciate you leaving this. Debt free dad, you're a good dude. Just suggesting that you research Jerry Brown before you endorse him. If I'm overstepping, my apologies. Um, I've looked at it, and there's a side to every story. Um, the information that I'm given is information that I can ascertain from what I saw in the media outlet. Now, again, I haven't done a super deep dive, but this was an interesting conversation. And I'm gonna tell you, I probably watched like 2 minutes of it, if that. I was like, I prefer to do it and give my real reaction. Um, and like I said, I reached out to the brother. Hopefully, we can have a conversation, because I like to kind of have a conversation with someone who has a pulse. But hey, this is an objective review of something that he's done. I always want to give credit to the creator of the content that I'm going to use or that I'm going to review. So I'm definitely going to do that. But let's go ahead and cue up this news article real quick so we can get a little bit of background on Jedediah Brown. And this is his community. This is someone who's actually in the community. There's back and forth, and I appreciate that comment too, as well, Donna B. But we're gonna go with what we have from the media. That's always the cleanest way to do it. Again, I'm not gonna besmirch your brother's name, and I'm always gonna give him a shout out, or give any creator a shout out who we focus on this channel. So let's take a look at this video real quick, and then we'll dive. Uh, and then we'll dive into the actual interview just for some feedback. Let's go ahead and let's get it. I got so much. All right.
Jedediah Brown is out of police custody tonight after being removed by officers during yesterday's Dalton Village Board meeting. Video shows Brown confronting Dalton trustee Andrew Holmes over sexual assault allegations. Brown spoke with us one-on-one after his release tonight.
As I was walking around, he was beckoning for me to come and saying some explanative words, and I wanted to, and I was gonna get my answer, and I'm gonna get my answer, because he's a fellow advocate and he should know better than all of his behavior.
Brown says he's been charged with resisting arrest and that he's also been served with an order of protection. Holmes is accused of sexually assaulting a former Dalton employee during a trip to Las Vegas last year. Those allegations under investigation.
All right, blah 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 on that. We know what's the deal with Andrew Holmes. We know what's the deal with his investigation or the closing of his investigation. And as far as I'm concerned, this is just my personal opinion. When you're a person in the public forum, people reserve the right to ask you questions about situations that occurred or allegedly have occurred during events that were probably bankrolled by the taxpayers. That's just kind of what it is. Now, the method with which a person does that is debatable, but if you're a public servant, just know that you're probably going to get approached by people who are going to have questions. It is what it is. If you don't want to get approached by people, you probably should have a new profession. That's just kind of how it is. If you're in the public forum, once you enter the public forum, everything is fair game. Athlete, entertainer, politician, it is what it is. That's just my personal opinion. But let's go ahead and cue up this interview because I don't want to take too long on the interview. And we're just going to take a look at the interview. Again, I'm gonna give my take as an attorney, and again, I'll tell you all, I'm not an expert in landlord tenant law. Lord knows, no, no. And I have a tenant who does something wrong. That's why I pay a property management company a percentage so they can take care of that shit. Even I can read it, I can find out about it. I just don't want to do it. But let's go ahead and dive into this interview. We'll do it like this. Let me see. I just checking out some of the comments before we go in. Yeah, I think it was. I did a video on why I don't think they pursue the investigation. But bottom line is, crimes like that are like the bottom line. Before we watch this video, with my thoughts on why the investigation closed, investigations into assaults, batteries, abuse, those types of charges, they're so difficult to prove, and you have such a short time to gather your evidence. As opposed to if someone commits a white collar fraud, that's an easy case to investigate because the evidence trail just stays around damn near indefinitely. But when you talk about, I know I used to do abuse and neglect investigations of persons in Medicaid funded facilities, hospitals, things like that. You have such a short time frame. Typically, a normal investigation, to do the preliminary investigation, we may give ourselves 30, 60, 90 days. For investigations that are like physical in nature, because the evidence just disappears and gets contaminated so quick, we try to get as much evidence as we can within that first 7 to 14 days. Even that's pushing it, but it's very hard. It makes it more difficult when the persons who've purported the individual who's alleged to have committed the crime and the victim are in different states. It just makes things so much more difficult. So, I think that's the bottom line of why they were like, this will be tough for us to do. I don't know. I don't think it was somebody exercised their pull as the mayor of a place to do anything. I just think it was logistically and from an evidentiary standpoint, it's hard to do. So much time has elapsed. And plus, them not being residents of the state made it more difficult. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this interview and we'll talk about it.
Gentlemen, without further ado, Janetta Ho, hopefully I've said your name correctly, but welcome to INA.
Let's do it.
Thank you guys for having me.
So I don't even know where to begin. I think I want to begin with I just read this for the first time, didn't even know this. So you know them. 20 years.
I know the Henyard family, yes.
You want to kind of walk us into what made you give her a place? Why does she need one? Any of that? She could stay with her mama. She lived down the street.
I don't know why.
General rule of business for me, if you know someone personally, it actually makes it more likely that I probably wouldn't want to rent anything to you that's mine, just because sometimes there's an expectation of, hey, I know you. You should hook this up, or you should do this, or you should do that. People who know you sometimes don't treat your business as an actual business. So, me typically, if I had tenants moving in, I want my tenants, one, to not know who the hell I am, and and two, I'm very cautious about renting to someone I know, like a friend or a family member, because, like, yo, this is a business for me. You don't get anything special outside of what I would give a normal tenant.
She needed one. But essentially the house was not hers in the beginning. Like, I had a family that wanted to rent the home when I was moving out of it.
Facts.
And I had to tell that family right before the holidays. They had bought furniture apparently for the house. I had to tell them that they couldn't move in. They cursed me.
All right, now real quick. Let's listen to that. She started off. This is about as much as I watched because somebody pointed me in this direction because it was a question
Yes.
I had. So just
You
listen
want
to
to
this.
kind of
real
walk
quick.
us into what made you give her a place? Why does she
I'ma
need
pause it
one?
and
Any
talk
of that?
about
She
it.
could stay with her mama. She lived down the street.
I don't know why she needed one. But essentially the house was not hers in the beginning. Like, I had a family that wanted to rent the home when I was moving out of it. And I had to tell that family right before the holidays. They had bought furniture apparently for the house. I had to tell them that they couldn't move in. They cursed me.
Now, I'll tell you, I just listened to her interview on the news, and all I heard her say initially was there was a family who was scheduled to move in, but Tiffany said she wanted the place. And I was like, damn, they were scheduled to move in. I think that's kind of wild. From a business perspective, this is just me. I'm speaking as an attorney, I'm speaking as someone who owns rental properties, who've been doing it for in over a decade with the landlord thing. A deal is a deal is a deal. Now, I don't know if these are some black folks. Hold on one moment. I gotta do some struggle streaming real quick. Hey, what's up? You okay? I'm on a live. You all right? Hey, get stand by. Hold on, I gotta do some struggle streaming. Oh man. All right, my bad, y'all. That was some struggle streaming going on, but my baby girl home, and I don't like her lollygagging out there all alone in these streets trying to get in the house, so I had to run down there and let her in. Then I had to run up 2 flights of stairs. All right, so where were we at? If you're renting a house or about to rent a house and you're buying furniture, I'm assuming a contract was signed. I mean, I think that's kind of wild. I'm going to assume that there was some type of contract signed. If not signed, there had to be some verbal contract or something. This is the holidays. These folks went out and bought furniture. I don't know. I mean, I can speak from experience of as a tenant and somebody who has tenants. I never had anybody, and I never myself purchased a bunch of furniture to move in someplace where I didn't have a fucking contract signed. That's just kind of crazy. So, I mean, again, from a business standpoint, you had a tenant already locked up who apparently agreed to pay what you wanted them to pay, and you elected to pivot to rent to somebody you know. just from a business standpoint, don't do any business with people you know. Just be cautious about it because they're going to expect things that are more, they're going to think they're entitled to more because of the relationship. So you should never pass up a sure thing from a business perspective with someone who is really impartial and don't know you. That's kind of really the best approach to go. That's that's kind of my thoughts. You all let me know, but somebody buying furniture and telling them before Christmas that they gotta go, then you say they cursed you out. Yeah, that sounds like some shit you would curse somebody out over, in my personal opinion. All right, let's go and finish watching this.
Which upset me because my family was like, "Yeah, you should do it. I think that,
This section.
I think that she'll be reliable tenant and she should be able to pay her and him because, he's an affluent business professional. He owned several businesses. And
I
I
wouldn't
had
have
known her
brought that
family
up
and I
if I
had no
was her.
problems with the Henyard family. I had just met Tiffany though in 2017 when I moved to Dalton. But I've known her family since I was 15.
You know her family. Wow.
Nice.
And so there, and obviously those are good reasons. Nobody could have imagined or expected any of this.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Okay, so you let her in, and when does things go bad?
From the start, honestly. So when she moved in, she demanded that I buy her vertical blinds. And I said, no, I don't.
It's funny.
I said, I don't supply window treatments. And she says, well, for all of my properties, I do. And I said, but I don't. I said, that's not something that's supposed to be covered in the lease. She says, well, I would like some blinds.
I agree with that. If someone who's a friend is renting your property, blinds typically aren't a thing. Those are things that are damaged in the ordinary course of business and use. Trust me, I don't know what the kids do to the blinds, but they always fuck the blinds up over here. Even when they older and shit, know better. I don't understand. They just break them shits on purpose to mess with me. But in any event, that's not something that's normally contained in the lease. It's something that's damaged during the ordinary course of business. Now, here's the thing. When you're renting to someone and you have a tenant and they're making demands that are demands outside of what is contained in the lease, don't do the shit. Once you set the expectation of, I'm a capitulate to every little whim that you have, even if it's outside the terms of this contract. Once you do that, they kind of got you up shit's creek.
So I bought the regular, $6 Home Depot blinds and dropped them off over at the house. And she says, no, I want vertical blinds. And being someone that I feel like I'm kind of stylish, right? I think that my houses are decorated nicely. I'm like, no one even uses vertical blinds anymore. You should put window treatments up, but okay, whatever. She was like, well, I'll leave them with the house when I leave. And I'm like, okay. So that was the first thing. And then she said, okay, well, I don't like the color of the bedroom. I said, okay, well, paint it and then paint it back to the color it is. And she says, no, I want you to paint it. So $400 later, I paid someone to paint the master bedroom. So I'm thinking she just moves in and she's just
So blinds, she paid $400 for painting. And the question is going to be just a general landlord tenant things. Would she have done this if it were the persons who actually bought the furniture? The answer is probably no. She probably would have told those people that those people probably wouldn't have asked that shit. I'm gonna just be honest. Those people wouldn't have asked her that because they are familiar with the lease and how it works. This isn't the first time they rented. The only reason she's in this position is because of the relationship she has with the tenant that she selected.
demanding things. So that's when I knew that it was going to be a long journey between us.
Oh my God. And I've heard this so many times. People know this from day one. People say when she first became mayor, when she first became supervisor, when she first was this, like, automatically this is not going to be as dreamful as you want it to be. So let me ask you a question.
I want to take a pause again to credit the content creator on this. Y'all make sure y'all go, if y'all aren't familiar, go check out his channel. He has if you are interested in the story that is Tiffany Henyard, the village of Dalton, the Thornton Township, go check out his YouTube channel. He has a lot of information on there. You can decide what you want with that information, but his channel name is Investigate and Advocate. Investigate and Advocate with Jedediah Brown. I actually tagged him in the description of this video, his YouTube channel, so y'all can go check it out. And if you go check it out, just leave a comment, let him know that DFD sent you over there. Let's dive back in.
Are you okay with public comments before I switch our screen? Or would you? Can you read the screen? Can you see the comments?
So I was on my computer and I lost connection for some reason. So now I'm on my phone and I see you and me as participants, but I don't.
This isn't our plan screen, and so I'm supposed to transition, but I want, because I know you are private. I don't know. You know, you've done nothing wrong. But if you feel like comments will distract you or throw you off, then that's fine. But you got a lot of people on here, and they're talking, and it helps me if I see them. But if you don't want it, then they're gonna stay over there.
No, public comments are fine. I don't want to.
Public comments are fine. Well, Janitra, this is meet everybody else. That's everybody else. Okay, so the question for me first off. Well, no, you know what? Let me make sure I say this.
That's a good comment.
Thank you for coming on here. I'm honored that you chose to be here on INA. And I don't think you knew this, but I told you when we did talk, I've been praying for you. And the reason I was praying for you is because I talked to the sweetest woman when I was looking for you. I talked to the sweetest lady, and she didn't want to tell me none of your business. She didn't want to get involved. Her daughter is precious and private.
She's a nightmare
I talked
tenant.
to your mother months ago. You know that lady love you, don't you?
I do.
Did she tell you she talked to my ghetto self?
She did not. And then today when I mentioned it to her, she said, Jed talks so much.
I did not. I literally just was like, well, we didn't say, she didn't tell me your business. We just was praying for you because you've been going through things. You've been suffering in silence for quite a while. And so one of those things is you simply wanted to inspect your property. Tell us about the problems that you run into.
Yeah. The last time I've actually stepped foot in my house was December of 2022. And right before that, when I stepped foot in my house, the police came like I had killed somebody. I mean, they came full force. And they said that she made a call because she has cameras on the house. So they said she made a call. I was trying to get into the house. I had already talked to them, and I told them that I was going to put the house on the market. I wanted to get a new renter. And crickets. They didn't text back. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep moving the way I want to move. And the day came. I took my realtor over there. We opened the door. The alarm went off. So I'm calling Kamal's.
It's funny, she refers to it as Tiffany Henyard's house. She said she's referring to her property, but she says she has cameras on her house. That's interesting.
Phone. I'm calling Tiffany's phone. I'm like, the alarm is going off. I need you to shut the alarm off. No one answered. The police came full force. They said, Tiffany called us, said that you were here and you were trespassing. She said that if I was to enter the home, to arrest me. So then I'm like, arrest me? I own this house. And they were like, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, what? So they're like, well, we were told our instructions were to arrest you if you entered the house. He said, well, maybe you should come down to the police station and talk to Chief Lacey. And I'm like, okay. So I got in my car and I went down to talk to Chief Lacey, and I sat down in his office and I said, so what is going on? I said, how can I be arrested? And it's my property. I own the house.
Now, I know some people in the comments probably going to be like, yeah, Lacey was in on it. But just to be honest, generally landlord-tenant law is absolutely fucking crazy. Like, real talk, if you let somebody stay with you and they start getting mail in your house, you might be screwed. You actually might be screwed because the only way to get them out is actually through the court process. I've got videos that I've done on squatters, the crazy squatter situation in New York, where people were ending up bodied and deleted. A potential squatter situation I had with a family property that was in New York. Like, I've been down this squatter road, and the laws in most states are not favorable at all to the homeowner. In most states, once a person starts to establish a residence as their domicile, and this could be a matter of time. It could be that they're receiving mail and other correspondence at the property. In my head, I'm so grateful that that squatter situation, I thought I could have had, then that turned out to be the case, because it's hard for me to differentiate. It's hard for me to understand the legal nuances as an attorney of, you're in my house and you aren't paying me, so now I have to go to court to get you out. Because, like, nah, we just gonna move you out. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, hey, come on, hey, you got some people, I got some people, y'all getting the fuck out. But now the laws are changing. I actually did a video on laws that are being updated to kind of protect the homeowners. Now, some people will say, well, she was a tenant who just wasn't paying. At some point, there's a transition where you go from tenant to squatter. It depends on the laws in the state. So, what Lacey is probably telling her, again, I haven't looked at the specific laws in Illinois, but what Lacey is probably telling her is likely accurate, because squatter laws are just now changing. Landlord tenant laws are just now changing. But I've done plenty of stories of people who own houses, didn't get any rent, or someone just moved in and they show up and they get arrested. So that's completely plausible. Again, didn't dive into the legal nuances for this particular jurisdiction, but it's probably very likely.
And he says, no, that's not how the law goes. Because she's a tenant, because she's renting, you're trespassing. I said, are you sure that's the way the law goes? And he says, yes. At that moment, I felt bamboozled. I know how the law is written. I know that I can give, 48 hours notice and enter my property. But they use it to their advantage. After that, the furnace broke in December, and I was there, and Kamal tried to stick me with a bill, even though I had a warranty on the furnace. And we bickered then, and I wind up serving him a 5-day notice then. And then we wind up, agreeing that he was to pay that, and it was to not come out of the rent.
She'd have been cold.
That was the last time I was
Utilities would have been in my name.
When I went this past Saturday,
come out of the rent.
they wanted it to come out of the rent. Tiffany yelled at me and said, no, you should be paying for this. I said, I would have paid for this. I got here within an hour of your call. I would have paid for this, but you took it upon yourself to call somebody else to fix it. I don't know who those people are. You have to give me a certain amount of time to fix it. You say, oh, no, I'm not going to have my family sit in the cold. Which is understandable. It's December. I get it. But you have to pay that now. Saturday, I went to the house because I need to do furnace maintenance. I got there and the garage door code was changed, and so were the locks.
Real quick, I wanted to pause it real quick because I just want to say this point, and I think is important. Generally, it's a bad idea to manage your own properties. Even when I had just one, it was my first time. I've never managed my own property. And by manage, I mean selecting tenants, posting the vacancy, vetting the tenants, doing background checks, and looking at their credit reports. I've never done any of that because I don't want to do it. I don't want my tenants to even know who owned the property. So I always use a property management company. Typically, they'll charge anywhere between 10 to 20% of the total rents. If the rent is $2,000, it's worth paying them $200 just so you don't ever have to. If something breaks, don't call me, call them. And they'll contact me, just say, yo, we got to fix this. This is how much it's going to cost. All right, do your thing. But I think it's such an advantage. It's just too problematic. Everybody I know, not everybody, but a lot of people I know who manage their own properties, they just hated the grief. And one, I just don't want a fucking tenant calling me all the time, bothering me, bother somebody else. So I think that's normally the best approach to go to. At one time, I had a property that's out of state. I'm down there. I was like, yo, let me check on my property. I go to my property management company. I reserved the right to do a walkthrough. So I'm like, hey, like we let them know, like, hey, we're going to do a walkthrough of the property. I go through and I'm just checking out stuff. I'm like, okay, they actually keeping up with everything. And the tenant comes home and they sees me in there and they see me in there. Now they don't know I'm the owner of the property, right? And I don't want them to know. So I was like, oh, hey, I'm just here with the property management company. I'm just here with the property management company. We just doing a walkthrough just to make sure everything is good. The living conditions are suitable. Everything's working well for you. Because I don't want them to know. I don't want to cultivate any relationship with a tenant outside of the fact of this is your monthly bill. You pay me my monthly rents. Everybody keep it pushing. Then sometimes I was a nice guy. If a person paid their rent on time for like 11 out of the 12 months, for that last month, the month of December, I would only charge them half the rent. I would flip the other half out of my pocket because that's a reward for paying on time and not fucking up my stuff. So that's just kind of how I did it when, it was my turn to do it, But renting to a friend is bad. You take money, some tenant rights are reinforced. If you do not take it late, they can't be evicted. And is a thin line, because also let's think about it. Like, I know some people be like, oh, well, if she's not paying me money and the furnace breaks or something like that, you just on your own. But remember, landlords have to comply with an implied warranty of habitability. That means that those basic fundamental things are taken care of. So even if you didn't get your money, you're still going to have to take care of the heat, the water, make sure the sewage, the disposal system, all of those things, just so the place is habitable. Because if there's a breach of the implied warranty of habitability, which is implied, it's not expressly written in any lease, it's just implied across the board. If implied warranty of habitability is breached, tenants can legally withhold rents, and courts have upheld that in a shitload of places. All right, let's go ahead and jump back into the video.
Wow. Before I go any further, somebody beefing with me in my chat. Brown, don't be making her smile like that. That's my job, says Karen.
Damn.
I didn't see anything. I'm sorry.
It's on the screen. Karen, Caron, said, Brown, don't be making her smile like that. That's my job. You want me to block Karen? I'm just playing.
Respect others is the bottom line. That's a good comment.
I don't know what that is, but look, this is maybe a fan or something. Anyway, it's a compliment. I don't know. So you very, 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 very adamant about just doing what's right for them. They make it difficult. And I'm not trying to lead the conversation. This is just my understanding. They were not easy. They've not been easy tenants. But in all fairness, when you were going through these things and you were giving them these notices, because if I'm not mistaken, based on my intelligence or understanding, you had found them. You had served them an eviction before.
Yes,
I served them a 5-day notice, not an eviction.
Oh, you served them. Oh, so did you ever use the detective agency of Carolyn Avant?
I think that's her name. But that was a 5-day notice that I was serving.
You had to pay somebody to serve you know what? I'm sorry. I'm not.
I think I paid a few $100s for that.
You would put that on the door. So wait, that's because you couldn't go back on your property.
Yeah.
You know what, Tiffany? Run her money. Run her money.
Service of process is not free. Even if the sheriffs do it,
person. And you know what? Let me do something, because I just want to be very clear here. I don't want to be defaming on any level. But give me 1 second, because you said that somebody said that if you go back, you are trespassing, you going to jail, it's your property. And I just need to know, is this the person that said that to you? 1 second. Is that the guy?
Yes.
He gonna put a big old picture of Louis Lacey up there.
That's the guy, Mr. Clear the Room himself, ladies and gentlemen. You have it right here in a lineup. I should have put like 3 other pictures up there. So that would have been cool. But here it is, a positive ID, Chief Lacey. Did he show up to the house at that call?
No, I went to the station to see him.
Okay, so you have all these cops come. You go to the police station. You talk to Lacey. He says you go back. You're going to jail. Okay, what do we know if that's lawful or not? Can I get my investigators to do me a favor, do me quick research? Let's find out if that is legal in the state of Illinois. I want to see if we can fact check that real quickly. I want to know. So we're going to fact check that. So you can't go back on now. Any interaction with them, you got to pay for it. So you hire a detective agency to serve.
Like I said before, I got a 9-to-5 gig, probably more than 9-to-5. But in any event, I didn't do the research, but that would not be uncommon. The rights go to the tenant and the person who has possession of the property, even if they haven't paid rents. Most law enforcement understand that that's a matter for landlord-tenant law. In most cases, all it takes is once the person is in the house for a certain amount of time, even if they don't have paperwork proving it, they can say, hey, I've been here for 60 days, 90 days, whatever that specific amount of time is. Law enforcement immediate response is, this is a matter for landlord-tenant court. So the benefit of the doubt goes to the person in the actual property. That's generally what it is in most places. Some of the laws are changing. New York changed it. I think Florida changed it. This was maybe 2 or 3 months ago as well. So they're changing slowly, but that's generally the rule in most places.
Serve them a 5-day notice. Why didn't it get to an eviction then?
Because they paid. They paid, I think, come January 1st. I got December and January's rent.
January, December's paid, January's paid, the furnace is fixed. Did they take that out the rent?
No. So Tiffany's thing is she wants to see, she gonna press you to see how far you'll go. So if she can get over on you, she will. But at the end of the day, at that point in my life, you know, we raised by the same pack of wolves. Like, we can do a stalemate. You can get this 5-day notice and you can move around. So she just wants to see if you're gonna fight with her.
A shout out to you, because that is an actual excellent comment. That's actually a great comment, Tracy Gill. It's a month-to-month lease. I talked about in the video how it got to a month-to-month lease. Most times people don't just enter into a month-to-month lease by signing documents. That would be crazy. Like, who would do that? That's not economically, that makes no sense. If your property is an investment property, you want to lock someone in. So typically people get into month-to-month leases because they sign an original lease agreement for a term of 12 or 24 months. Once that lease expires, there's still this conduct of, I'm charging you rent, you're paying rent. I'm charging you rent, you're paying rent. In those instances, courts imply a lease is month to month. So long as rents are owed and rents are accepted, that month-to-month lease continues. Now, this puts her actually in a prime position because it's a month-to-month lease. If a month comes and she wants to actually get rid of her, she has the legal right to be able to get rid of her. Now, again, it could be some nuances, but generally that's how month-to-month leases are developed. They just are kind of a creature of a lease term ending but not being renewed, and both parties engage in the same conduct of charging and paying, and the courts imply month to month. But actually, once it became month to month, she actually had a little bit more leverage to be able to legally get Tiffany Henyard out of there. Now, it could have, may or may not, I'm not saying it's not possible. It could have been some gamesmanship going on with local law enforcement. But legally at that point, that's a very good point you made, Tracy. She has the leverage because the lease is month to month. There's no set term that the tenant is locked into. So that was a good comment. Great point as well. Shout out to you.
And of course, we can't physically fight. So we have to fight with court.
You can always physically fight. You just don't want to.
And so you got both months like you were supposed to. Can you do me a favor? There's going to be a beat drop. I just need you to put your hand in the air and you're going to smack. This is just smacking there, okay? I don't know if you ever seen it before, but when this beat drop, I need you to whoop that. You got to whoop ass in the air because you got that money. So I'm gonna help you out. Just put your hand up when I do, okay? No, when I do it, okay? So all you got to do. Put your hand up slowly. Then the other hand, when the beat drop, smack that air.
Buddy.
Okay. Now I'll be so serious.
The tax return is actually stupid because the reason that she wasn't paying was because the taxes went up. If she was to do a tax return, one, it would be, I think someone said in the comments of the video, it was like less than $100 or $100 or something the last time they did it. But it would actually create more likely than that, it would actually create an even bigger tax burden down the road, which, I mean, is just crazy. But, you know, it is what it is. Let's go ahead and jump back into this video.
You I don't know if they told you who you was coming over to interview with. So yeah, you tapped that ass, you got your money. Give me my money. Okay. So after that, does everything start to like normalize? Are you having any more issues after that?
Yeah, we started to normalize. Around that time is when Tiffany like stopped talking to me. She stopped responding in group, right? There's a
That's a
group
good
between
comment right
Kamal,
there.
me, and Tiffany. So then I just took it to just me and Kamal from then on. We can just have a conversation together. Everything was copacetic until I
100.
went up on the rent the first time. I had to literally like pull up on him and say, come outside so we could talk. And we talked and it was fine. We worked it out. But this time, he's like, oh, I can't afford it. He's like, you just went up 5 months ago. I said, no, I went up a year ago.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
But if you're on a month to month, if you're not under a lease, I can go up every month if I want to.
That's facts. She's aware of the
That's
leverage
how
that she
month to
had.
month works.
Wow. And they had a lease first and they went to month because they wouldn't give you your house back, correct?
Because they didn't want to sign a new lease.
And they didn't want to leave. So why'd you let them?
Because I was getting my money on time.
Period.
All right. See, that confuses me right there. Let me hit some of the comments up. Hey, shout out to Uncle Junebug. Shit, I would have been Uncle Junebug, and I'm about as law abiding as you come. But don't play with what's mine, man. Don't play with my family and my property and shit like that. Like, nah, that's like people going wild out over that. Even the most wholesome, square person might split somebody's head if you try to mess with what's theirs. And I mean, I'll be honest. If I'm on a jury and a person is at trial because they were arrested for trespassing because their tenant hasn't paid in 6 months or 3 months and they went over there and snatched him by the collar to snatch him out, that's not guilty to me. Like, what? They charge you with trespassing and assault? Like, nah, I don't see it. I'm the wrong person to have on a jury for a fact pattern like that. But he did ask a very good question right there. Yeah, give them their red plea. Yep. She mentioned that, I believe, today in her meeting. He asked a very good question. He was like, yo, you had him, and the response is kind of confusing. You had him in a month-to-month lease where they're both aware that she has the leverage. He's aware. She said that, yeah. He's like, well, why'd you let him stay? And she said, because they were paying me my money. You identified these people as a problem from day one. Again, from a business perspective, from a life perspective, people are going to show you who they are. She showed you who she was, like the minute she asked for some shit that wasn't in the lease, like blinds and painting, and you started capitulating. So that's I don't know. That's just kind of weird. Like, she had the opportunity to get him out. They paid a couple of months. She was satisfied with that, so she just kind of let it go on. Um, Again, I don't know how long she's been renting this property out. I don't think he asked her that. I don't know if this is her only property, but that's a like 101. If somebody is a headache, cut your losses and get the hell out of there. I would rather go not having a tenant for 2 or 3 months than having a tenant who's an asshole. That's just me. We'll talk about, because she's mentioned in her interview that she's having some financial hardships. We'll talk a little bit about how you maneuver not having a tenant and financially don't get kicked in the ass. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But that was a damn good question on his part. And, shout out to him for identifying that, yo, you had the ball in your court. Why didn't you do anything there?
I was right. I'm like, why? Just let him stay. They're not bothering me right now. Let them stay.
But you don't know the condition of your home. You cannot see anything. You just know you're getting your monthly payments. And so here is my question. Is there are you concerned about the condition of your home?
A bit. I went around to the back of the house and it looks like some gutters are off of the house. So if there was a big downpour of rain, that means the water will run right into the foundation of the house. Those gutters need to be put back on there. The grass sucks, but that's neither here nor there. Kamal is a smoker. I've told him from the very beginning, not to smoke inside the house, but he does. Other than that, I don't foresee any like real serious damage. But I mean, who knows?
Do you I mean, and I don't know if you would know this, but there's been this question like, do you think they're even living in that house?
Lisa, what's up?
Now, no. They have, a few cars, and the last car moved quite some time ago. And from what I can tell, because all the utilities are still in my name, they didn't allow me to take the utilities out of my name. From what I can tell, in the month of, October, when
All right, now he may ask this, but who is what is she? Who is they? They didn't allow me to take the tenants out of the. They didn't allow me to take the utilities out of my name. Is is they her tenants, Tiffany Henyard and her boyfriend, or is they the utility company? Because there are instances I've never rented to a person like this because they wouldn't pass my fucking background check. But there are scenarios where, let's say I have a rental property, I'm moving in family A. Family A has an unsettled financial dispute with the power company. There are situations where the power company be like, "Nah, fam, we not we not opening the power in their name in this house because they have an unsettled financial obligation that they already owe us." So I'm kind of confused with what the hell she mean is they wouldn't take that. I hope she's talking about the power company and the gas company and the water company, because if she's talking about the tenants wouldn't let me take my name out, this goes back to the blinds and paying $400 to paint some shit that you're not obligated to do as a landlord. Like, yo, you're doing too much. If those utilities would have been in my name, they would have been, it'd have been a cold, cold world. Because that shit, the utilities in my name, oh, cut that shit off ASAP. They'd have had to get some kerosene heaters or burn some wood, prayed at the house, got a fireplace or something.
it's gotten a little chilly some of these days, they would have had the heat on. The gas bill is only $30.
Hmm. What about the electric? Because you know you can buy a little heater and just sit in one room.
The electric is only $30 as well, but that's because they keep the outside lights on all day.
Okay. And so I saw so my question to you
Yeah,
then would
good
be,
point.
it sound like you told the news that the reason that they refuse to pay moving forward
That's
is
facts,
because you
Rob.
raised the rent again.
Yeah. Kamal texted me recently, was like, I can't believe we've fallen out over this rent increase. And I said, okay. And I'm like, if you're not going to pay it, just move. He was like, well, I don't want to be someplace where I'm not wanted. And I'm like, okay, well, just let me know what day you're moving out. I mean, because he wants somebody who, and I wouldn't even say it's him. Honestly, I like Kamal. I don't like Tiffany at this point. And that's because she doesn't like me and she doesn't respect me as a woman or as a landlord. And that's where the problem lies.
Yeah.
But
That was on day one, though. I'm telling you, people will show you who they are. Most people don't show you who they are that fast. Most people take yeah. Normally, you have a tenant for 3 to 6 months before you realize they ain't shit. But like when you have queues after like 30 days, that's kind of wild. Or you got a queue after 1 week, like, yo, this shit, man, this tenant may be a little bit wild, but you can't let the dollar control you. Late rent is something that's I'm not a proponent of. You got late rent, we're gonna have a problem. Now, a one-off situation, maybe, but when you have consecutive months of late rent, like, nah. Then once you start accepting it, it just gets real funny. And I don't know. I just feel like from a business standpoint, there was a lot of mistakes made, and those mistakes initiated because she let her heart for what she thought was her friend influence her business decision, and you can't do that. Trust me, shit. I love my brother, rest in peace. But I'd be like, nah, my brother asked me once. He was like, man, I think I want to move out of state. Can I move in one of your places? I was like, nah, bro. I was like, nah, I love you, man. Can't do that though. That's not gonna work, man. I like that's not gonna work. So you got to know what you're working with, and you got to see the signs. You got to have what does my mother like to say? The spirit of discernment.
I feel like Kamal has been kind of a stand-up individual, to me. Although they didn't re-sign a lease, although he says that he can't afford the extra $200, and that may be because he's paying rent at other properties. You know what I mean? And he's trying to hide money because of his bankruptcy issues. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But I feel like our communication is better than Tiffany and I's. And I wouldn't mind them staying, but I'm not going to sacrifice going under foreclosure, because can nobody live for free? If you find a place that you can live for free, you let me know and I'll come over there and live with you.
Period. I'm coming too. So keep room. So you saying if they can make this right, they can avoid court and eviction by just paying the bill.
No, at this point, no. I would like them to move out.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. They might need a place to stay real soon. And you don't want the feds knocking down your door, of course. You know. So, and that's me talking. The views and opinion of that last statement was yet not of Janetta. Okay, so my question, I guess, now is, does that do anything for the relationships you guys, your families have fostered over the 20 years? How is that being affected by all of it?
So I don't speak to them on a daily basis, the Henyards. So it's not like
the Henyards. Sounds like a horror movie. Go ahead.
I them on a daily basis, but they know how she is. I mean, one of her cousins called me back in December of 22 when we fell out about the rent. She's like, Janetta, what's going on? And I said, girl, that's your cousin. This is how the conversation went. I said, that's your cousin. And I said, they not paying the rent because of the furnace.
That's
and she was like,
because
she called mom. You know how did it go when somebody calling you? But she called and said that you did X, Y, and Z. I said, if she pay me, we won't have no problems.
Wow.
So I don't think that the family relationships will change. I mean, I'm sure they saw me on the news, and I know they know that I'm a very private person, and I wouldn't do it unless I had to.
It's so crazy to me. Like the effect of this on these are these are real relationships that should be valued. Did you?
All right, real quick. So whatever relationship their families had, they had years. It's like it's I'm not sure. I'm not gonna say it's irreparable damage, but it's definitely damage to that relationship. Hey, I've learned the hard way. I've had jobs. I had positions where I was able to hire like other attorneys and not even have them do an interview. Just like, yeah, I just want to whatever. It's a special position where I just reserve the right to hire who I want, bring them on because I know them and their work ethic. And now in hindsight, I would probably that was early on when I was a young person in corporate America. I would probably never do that, even if I know you and I know you could do the job. Everybody going through the same process. I'm not giving nothing that. And if I know you and you know you could do the job, you should be able to perform well on the interview. If you can't, that's a you problem, not a me problem. So there are levels to putting somebody on, but you know, I ended up regretting doing that. So business, friendship never mix. It's interesting. We're gonna get back into this video, but I read some of the comments and people like, yo, the utilities in my name, you should have moved in with her. Have y'all ever seen like I think it's called A Roommate from Hell on Netflix? That shit is it reminds it reminds me. They have ones where it's like Tenant from Hell, but it was like one where there was this one guy who went to law school but never passed the bar, but he was like an expert at landlord tenant law. And he pretty much spent years moving from home to home, and he never paid any rent for something crazy like 3 or 4 years because he would just get in there, start squatting, challenge him in court. Other attorneys were shook to go against him. And it was sad because it was like this dude was doing this to this poor little small, I think it was like an Asian woman or something. And I was like, that's crazy. She ain't got no friends or nothing. Because they would have been the fuck out of my house. But this terrible tenants are the absolute worst. They'll give you a headache. I had of all the years I've had rental properties, I had one tenant who like really fucked my house up. And I don't know if they either won the lottery or they were on the run. But when they moved out, they waited to the end of their lease and they always paid on time. But the house was an utter disaster. I actually think I did it. Yeah, I actually think I did a video on it. I did a series where it's called like Selling in a Seller's Market. And I showed some of those before pictures. Man, that shit was fucked up. It was like, I went in there. It was so disgusting. I was like, I ain't gonna say I was broke, but I didn't have excess money to burn, so like me and my brother went down there, and I was like, "Come on, man, I give you some money. Let's go down there and clean the place up, kind of do everything." We took like maybe 4 or 5 days to do everything. When I went down there and saw that shit, and I opened up them cabinet, I know back when I was there, it wasn't no goddamn roaches. I went down there, I saw them roaches scattered all the place. I was like, hell to the nah. I was like, nope, we're gonna pay somebody to move all this shit. There's no way I'm going in there. So bad tenants in 14, 15 years of renting, I had one bad tenant who left and they kind of left the place fucked up. Everything still worked. It was just so fucking disgusting. I was like, what the hell? It was wild. So yeah, having a good tenant. If my tenant is good, low key, if you're a really good tenant and don't fuck up my stuff and pay on time, I honestly would be cool with like not raising your rent for like a year or something. Like I'd be like, yo, he was so cool. I'm gonna keep your rent the same because I mean, when you got rental properties and you're small owner, 1 or 2 properties, you're not trying to squeeze everybody for every penny. You trying to make a little bit of profit that you can stash away for the repairs associated with the house and pay the mortgage. That's it. That's the most important thing.
You give her a background check, credit check, or any of that when you moved in?
I didn't.
Because you were showing
come
love.
on. What?
What's crazy?
Did y'all hear that? I'm sorry. Oh man, I hit play right at the right time. That's crazy as I don't know what. Did y'all? She didn't do it. Like, okay, I know that's your friend. Okay, how can I put this? Okay, when I gave we lived in the same house 20 years and never had an increase because y'all take care of shit. Y'all doing y'all thing. When I had tenants, it, actually, this is what I did one year. My property management company was like, yo, the lease is about to be renewed. We think you can increase this rent by 10%. And I was like, would the tenants we have stay there if they increase it by 10%? And he was like, yeah, we talked to them. We think they'll do it. And I was like, for that next year, I only increased their rent 2%, and I just paid the 8% different out of the rental proceeds to the property management company because I wanted to give the tenants a break. Because if you do the right thing, I'm gonna bless you. The same way if I do the right thing, I want somebody to bless me. But yo, that's wild. That's wild. Hold on. I want to run that back just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Said that you did X, Y, and Z. I said, if she pay me, we won't have no problems.
Wow.
All right, now let's pay attention to this. This is rule number one. But before we play this, I told y'all I had positions where I could just hire an attorney without them doing any interviews. Now, if you do take care of a friend and or family member, I don't care if it's giving them a job, I don't care if it's renting them a place and letting them be your tenant. At the bare minimum, at least make sure they got the right fucking qualifications for whatever it is. If the people I brought in are like, oh, I seen this attorney's work. They had a resume where if you look at their resume, you like, yo, they qualify, they can do this job. If I were to rent one of my places or a place I owned or a property or whatever, shit, if I was gonna rent a car or let somebody use my car, I'm not gonna rent my car to a friend who always crash up his fucking car. At a bare minimum, you should do a background check. You should do a credit check. See her credit history, how she pays her bills. At least if you would have did that and Tiffany Henyard passed that stage with flying colors, and then you rented to her and she started being like the tenant from hell, at least I could say objectively, like, she did the minimum amount of due diligence required to identify somebody who might be a problem. She just kind of got finessed on the back end of the game. But you didn't even do that. You was like, yo, this is my friend. I guarantee you now, them people with that furniture, she wished she'd have had those tenants in there. But that's wild that she didn't even do a background check. He was even shocked, but that was a good question for him.
So I don't think the family relationships will change. I mean, I'm sure they saw me on the news, and I know they know that I'm a very private person, and I wouldn't do it unless I had to.
It's so crazy to me. Like the effect of this on these are real relationships that should be valued. Did you give her a background check, credit check, or any of that when you moved in?
I didn't.
Cause you were be showing love.
Man,
What's crazy is when
what
she
love
filled
got to
out
do with
the application, she just put mayor on it for employment. She just put mayor. Mayor of what?
See, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy for her to just put mayor on the application, but yo, you didn't do the background check, and you were fine with her just putting mayor on it, and you accepted it. So, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, is this really funny for? Like, I mean, let's just be honest. If you could if you could stay at a place, pay the rent late whenever you want it, get all of these capitulations and things done that they normally wouldn't do. And when it started to get out of hand, you just pay your back rent and then they let you keep staying there. Most people would take advantage. Most people would be like, yo, I could pay the rent wherever I want. She fixing and doing shit that most people wouldn't do. I ain't ever going nowhere. So I mean, like, hey, I don't know. It's interesting. Is he laughing at? I'm assuming he's laughing at Tiffany Henyard for putting mayor on the application, but I think it's funny that you accepted the application with just mayor on it. But more importantly, not doing a background check or a credit check is wild. Because I would love to know what Tiffany Henyard's credit score was, because your credit score is just indicative of how good is your relationship with debt and how do you pay your fucking bills. So that would have been interesting to see. Like, yo, yeah, I did a background check and she had a 530, but I was like, fuck it, she my friend. That's crazy.
What? Mayor is what she put. That's crazy.
Not even her name. She didn't put her name. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. Okay. All right. I am literally gonna fill me out of the application, and I'm going to put black man. Okay. since we just, okay. Well, I'm glad that you were able to smile a little bit here, and I think that is great that people got to understand that you're not. You've been patient. You've gone through a lot. Is there a path? And this is just me asking. Like, do you have personal feelings about all the things that you've had to go through?
I mean, if I was a Dalton resident, I wouldn't vote for her again. But other than that, I mean, it is what it is. People do things. That's gonna be her karma. That don't. I mean, my karma is gonna come from me being patient, from me being a good person, um, from me sacrificing. Right at this point,
And again, they brought it up, not me, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. But all of this started because you had a family set to move in during the holidays who bought furniture. You clearly made some type of offer. There was some type of acceptance. There was all from everything you said. It appears to be something locked in stone, and you backed out to let your friend do it. Who and the other people probably did all the shit. The other people probably did a background check and a credit score. This shit was probably good. So it's funny to talk about karma because that's karma is a thing, and you don't want bad to happen. I trust me. I wish she didn't have to deal with this shit more than anybody. Plus, I think on the news she said she actually lost her job. But yeah, when it starts out from a position of doing something that's kind of suspect, it normally dovetail into something that you didn't think it was going to be. Whatever you thought it was going to be ends up never being as sweet as you thought it was going to be. That's just life in general.
I can't deal with what God has for her.
All right. I think I understand that and appreciate that. So I got two quick questions. The first one is, can I have my members, the people who are members of the INA platform, are they able to ask you any questions?
Yes, as long as I can pass if I don't want to answer them.
Absolutely. So those individuals who are, I don't even have any production assistants, so I don't even know who a member is right now. Never mind. But what I will do, you know what? I'll let y'all ask questions, and typically that's reserved for members of this channel. However, I'll take 5 questions for, is it Hole?
Oh, yeah.
Miss Hole, and I want to thank you so much for being gracious and coming on here and talking to us. Someone said, does the house smell like Newports? I would assume so. He's a smoker, but we don't. She hasn't been inside of there. Moose wants to know, do you model?
Do I model? No.
Yeah, he trying to shoot his shot in the
I'm sorry,
comments.
there are some viewers who are just totally distracted right now. They ain't thinking about
He
the
like,
eviction.
I'ma go
No,
ahead.
none of that. They just like, dang, look at this lady. Okay, so members have a star by their name. How much does repair cost going to be? She would know that. She hasn't been able to go inside of the house. Can you describe how the house look on the inside, Janetta? How is Tiffany living? She doesn't know that. She wouldn't have been able to go in there. Okay, so can you do notice by publication? Did you get an answer for that?
No, I didn't get an answer for that today. I know one of the members did reach out to me and say that that's a possibility. I did go back to the Markham Courthouse today because I needed another piece of paper signed by the judge. But no, I don't know for certain.
Do you think that the Thornton Township meeting, the way that was ran today, do you think that that was done to avoid you and being served?
I think she smelled something.
You smelled
I think she smelled
it. Okay. So if you was to make any assumption based on all of your monitoring of your house, what do you think that property is for them right now?
I think that that's just a place for them to say that they live in Dalton, even though I know that she used her mother's address for the next election, I guess, as her address.
Mm.
And I think that they just haven't had time because
If that's true, that's a big no. Here, the DC council member I did the video on, who stupidly was video recorded and audio recorded, putting bribes in his pocket. When he got arrested, it was a condo that was outside of his district, which is a big no. So if that is true, one, that's a actually we could fact check that. We can, look and see what the address is, you know, and see if she one used her parents' address, and then it'll be interesting because there are ways you can find out if that address is actually her domicile to meet the definition to satisfy being able to run for office. But if that is true, that's a big issue.
they're getting signatures to move the rest of their belongings out.
Wow. I'm not going to hold you any longer. Is there anything you want to say, get out that you haven't been able to get out in the soundbite over the media?
I don't think so.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So this is going to be me now, y'all. This is not Miss Ho. Miss Ho, this is just who I am, and this is who INA is. A lot of people are watching Dalton, a lot of people care. I don't want you to tell your personal business, but I had an opportunity to talk to you and to talk to your mother. And I do know that it's a hit if you can't get your bills paid. I don't want you to lose your property. I don't want you to go into foreclosure. You got over 1,000 people watching you right now. And I don't know if there's anybody that has a heart or that would care. But even as wonderful as you look, you need to get this bill paid. Right? You don't want
Yeah,
to lose your house. And I don't want you to lose your house. So I'm going to ask you, do you have a Cash App? I am going to give you $50 right now. And then I'm going to allow my viewers the same opportunity. If they want to bless you, I hope that we could help you. You came on and talked to us, but I don't want to just talk to you, beautiful Black woman, and then you be evicted. And then it's like, man, I don't want that. I wouldn't, that's why I don't let people come on here if I wouldn't have a heart to do something for you. So, do you have Cash App?
I do.
Great. What is that?
It's my full name. So it's $ Janetta Hull. So GENETTAHULL.
Janetta Hall. In this picture, it's a picture here. Oh, your hair a little longer on here.
I do.
Great. What is that?
It's my full name. So it's $ Janetta Hull. So GENETTAHULL.
Another hole. And this picture, it's a picture here. Oh, your hair a little longer on here.
I just cut my hair. I got a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I just needed a change.
That's what
I just dropped it in the chat just in case if y'all want to support, y'all feel free to do so. I'm not telling y'all to because I'm worried about my people, making sure all y'all got emergency funds and don't have a shitload of credit card debt. So if you can support and you want to, you can, but take care of number one. Can't take care of nobody else if you can't take care of your own shit. But I did drop it in the chat because I gotta give credit to the content creator. It's something he did. So, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the chat. We about to
happens
close
when you're
this
getting ready for war. Did you put like some
they
face? Did you do this with like put the you were sitting in the mirror and you just got ready for battle? I heard that. So I just sent you $50. It ain't much of nothing. But what I'm also going to do, Miss Ho, is I'm going to be instructing my investigators to help us track down our lovely super mayor. We're good at monitoring. And so I'm going to connect with you because we want to make sure we can get her served. And I'm going to help you get her served, okay?
I appreciate it so much, Chad.
All right, let me put you on the screen. Wait, so look, let me say this, y'all. You are under no obligation. But here it is. A woman that is a victim of squatting.
All right, we're gonna leave it there. It was some other further conversations. That's enough. I can't get. I don't even want to hear no more. It was just, I hate to say it was a self-inflicted wound, but some things, if we have a little discernment and use our head and not do, we can't be emotional when we react to things from a business standpoint. Like that's the number one way to get burned. Even if with investing, if you put money somewhere and it goes up one day, then you got 2 weeks where it's dropping like a damn fly, and the long term is stable, but you get worked up like, oh, it's dropping, let me sell. Now you just finesse yourself out of all the profits you're gonna get on the back end. So generally, you want to move from business wise. You want to think of here, not think with your heart. Like low key, like would I rent a property to my son at market value? Right now, probably not. right now, probably not. Like, my son, I'm like, nah, bro. Maybe you get a roommate. If you get a roommate and your roommate legit, then maybe we could talk about it. But I'm like, renting it just to you at market rate? Nah, dude, you're not gonna pay me. I'm gonna have to kick your little ass out. Yeah, nah, we ain't gonna do all that. So, let's go ahead and just tap into some of these comments real quick. I don't know. I think these comments is hilarious. The lesson here is don't do people wrong. I agree. I think it was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. Y'all make sure y'all go check out Investigate and Advocate with Jedediah Brown, a YouTube channel. The name is in the description below. Let's see. Amazon pallets everywhere. Y'all hilarious. Oh, it's it's distracting. I know I had like I got another photo that I got another painting I think I wanted to put up over Ali, but I like Ali. Ali is one of my favorites. Let's see. What's going on about that wallet? What's going on? Oh yeah, I'm glad I seen about that wallet and it made me think of finances because of his name. I just wanted to talk real quick before we get out of here. Again, I'm gonna put on the screen the guests, the landlords, Cash App, because the content creator put it up there. I want to put it up there. Again, take care of your own financial situation before you bless somebody else. I'm not telling y'all to do it. I'm just, hey, the creator did it. I'm going to follow suit because I use his content for this video. It's a respect thing. So I'm going to leave that up for a while. But I wanted to talk about the situation that she's in. She talked to the news media about being unemployed. Now she has this rental property and she's not getting rent from her tenant. Now, there is a way to avoid this, and there is a strategy to avoid it. Now, to really make the financial determination on how she approached it is the right way, I would have to know what her actual mortgage obligation is versus what she is actually getting in rents. it could be a situation where she's not getting. It could be a situation where she's breaking even, or she may be getting a little less. But most times, especially in this market with the housing market, most people with their mortgage payment are probably able to cover the mortgage payment and have a couple of dollars on the backside. So typically the general rule is this. If you can stick by this rule of thumb, you'll be okay financially. It only works if you can get a couple $100, $200 or $300 profit on your monthly mortgage payment. But generally, any profits you get from a rental property that you're still making mortgage payments on, that money should go into a specific account that's designated directly for that house. It could be when repairs come up. It could be, I don't know, pay the taxes at the end of the year. It could be anything. But don't take that money and start spending it. Because when you have a rental property, when that rental property makes income, it's $2,000 a month for rent. Let's say the mortgage was $1,700. There's a $300 a month surplus. Every month when you don't have a repair to spend that $300 a month on, you should stash it away. The same way that as an individual, you should try to strive to have 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund. When you have a rental property, you should do the exact same thing. You want to strive to have at least 3 months, at least even if you got 1 month of income stashed away from the profits of that rental property, you're doing well. But I'd always treated a rental property the exact same way as I handle my own finances. I want my emergency fund to be about 3 months, 3 to 6 months, just in case shit get hard. I actually like my emergency fund for me to be a little bit higher than that if you can make that happen. But you should have an emergency fund for your rental property, because at some point in time, you're going to have a Henyard, or you're going to not have a tenant because somebody moved out. And you're going to need any money you can to address repairs, or more importantly, be able to satisfy that mortgage obligation so that you don't lose your house. So that's point number one. Don't spend the extra, stash it away because you need to build an emergency fund for that rental property. That's point number one. Point number two is, if you have a rental property where the mortgage payment, how can I put it? If you have a rental property, if you go without a tenant for 4 months, and in your personal budget, you can't satisfy that actual mortgage payment, you probably are better off selling that property, taking the profits, and just investing that money or something to that effect. Because, and I'll give you an hypothetical. I actually have a friend who has a rental property in Florida, and they said that the rent is relatively low. It's in a non-flood area. They don't have a tenant. I don't think they had a tenant for like 2 or 3 months. And they were thinking about, hey, I should sell that property, do a 1031 exchange. A 1031 exchange is just when you sell a rental property, you buy a rental property of equal or greater value. You can postpone the tax obligation on all of the profits that you got from that sale. You could potentially postpone it indefinitely, but that's a whole nother story. But she was thinking of selling a rental property that she has in Florida that hasn't had a tenant in 3 months, but the rent is low, to buy it in an area where she is from, which is up north, and the mortgage payment will be higher. But she was like, hey, I think it's easier to get a tenant. And the very first thing I said is, hey, if you complaining about having to pay the rent, this cheap ass rent on this property in Florida for 3 months, if you didn't have a tenant for 3 to 6 months, could you actually sustain the more expensive rent in the more expensive area, the more expensive mortgage payment? If you couldn't sustain the more expensive mortgage payment, it actually behooves you to ditch the rental property. For me, I don't get rental properties in expensive ass DC for what? That's crazy as fuck. I'm not. Why would I get a rental property and the damn mortgage payment is $3,000-4,000? I'm not about to do that. You know where my rental properties are? They down south, South Carolina, North Carolina, someplace where if I go without a tenant for 3 or 6 months, I can handle that. I've never went without a tenant for 3 months. I think 2 months was the longest that I went without a tenant. But if I go without a tenant for 2, 3, 4 months, it's not gonna bankrupt me. I'm not gonna have to fucking eat top ramen, even though that shit is delicious. If you slice it up, put some chicken breast in there, all the good stuff. But I'm not gonna have to eat top ramen if I have to pay my rental property mortgage because I don't have a tenant. So she may have over leveraged herself if she's not employed. Now she's looking at her personal emergency fund. If she doesn't have an emergency fund for the rental property from the profits, now she's looking at trying to balance and pay that. And sometimes, if that mortgage is too high for you to sustain without a tenant for 3 or 4 months, it may be just fiscally makes more sense to just sell the shit and take the profits and do something else with it. That's a hey, hey, I don't know. I'm just I don't know. I just think that hey, shout out to Top Ramen. I survived off that shit. So yeah, expect 7% of some. Yep, I agree with that. 7% vacancy rate. That is fair. Rentals are investments plan. Yeah, I used to, I used to. Y'all see when I sold one of the rental properties, I probably link it. I'll probably link it to this video after I get through with this. But I used to have this theory where I wanted to have all these fucking rental properties and I could generate all this income. I don't want to do none of that shit now. I was like, nope, I don't want to do all that. Like honestly, low key, under the right circumstances, I wouldn't be opposed to liquidating every rental property or piece of land that I have and just taking those proceeds and putting it straight up in the stock market. I've slowly evolved from a rental property guy to a stock market guy. And rental property could give you the most cash flow if you do it right. You don't leverage yourself with debt, but I just don't want the fucking headache. Like, mm, uh, to have a $300,000 house, it's just I don't know. It's just I think it's more of a headache for me. She turned it into a hit yard. That's funny. That's funny. Let me go ahead these comments up. Then we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Hey, top ramen is fire. Yeah. The more you have, the more you got to lose. Oh yeah, and this is the last point I'm gonna make. The other thing too is I used to be I want a bunch of rental properties guy. And then I talked to all these people who got rental properties, and they like, I got 7 doors, I got 14 doors, and they had like 14 doors and 13 mortgages. And I was like, you know what? That shit is crazy. I'm an attorney by nature. I don't like risk. Okay, I'm not a real risky guy. So to me, this is just my approach. Y'all do what y'all want. Some people want to get a rental house, then borrow money off the equity and use it to buy another rental house. I would rather have one rental property that's actually paid off 100% as opposed to have five that I have mortgages on. That's just me. I've seen people in the latter situation who made a lot of money, but I've seen people in that latter situation who has a bunch of doors, a bunch of properties, a bunch of mortgages, and then the economy, housing market crash, or their notes get called or some shit, and then the next thing you know, they're in the bankruptcy line. So generally, I kind of transitioned from a guy who wanted a bunch of rental properties to I don't care about how many doors I have, but if I have one or two paid off doors that are completely paid off, that's actually even better. Now I transition to the point of, you know what, I just want to sell all that shit and put my money in the stock market because yeah, I'm gonna look right now. Let me look right now to see stock market rate of return. Let me see. And we're gonna go after I see this. This is what made me change my mind. I was like, man, I don't need to do no rental shit. I can just put this shit in the stock market. Let me see. I can't make it bigger. Let me screenshot it. Let's take a look. I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm gonna try to hold it up to the camera to see if y'all can see this. This is the actual rate of return on my investment portfolio. Let me see. Come on, camera. The camera not gonna show it. Is I'm a screenshot it and I'll post it. But my rate of return so far this year is 25.85%. And I'm not a guy who invested in a bunch of fucking Tesla and all that shit. I'm real simple. I don't have no single stocks. I just kind of do it simple. But the rate of return I can get in the market, being a relatively risk averse guy, I just don't want to go down the rental property road. It is what it is. But yo, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all have a good one. Y'all be safe. I think Friday we're gonna do I think Friday I'm gonna do a live stream. This is going to be a fun one on the DEA agent who turned into money launderer for the drug cartel. We talk about stupid people in the legal profession and in the law enforcement who do stupid things. But we're going to dive into that. That'll be our primary story with a couple of smaller stories that are interesting and probably kind of make you think or make you shake your head as well. Hey, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all take care, be safe, and be blessed. Peace. Shout out to you, Rob. Shout out to you. I think that's always the best way to go. Good comment. Y'all take care. One.